The story of Sydney Sutherland, more than just a crime chronicle. The story of Sydney Sutherland is not just another crime report. It's a gut-wrenching tragedy that makes you question, how well do we really know those around us? She was an ordinary girl with dreams, and he was a shadow hiding behind a mask of decency. This is a tale of light colliding with darkness, and of how a small town endured a tragedy that still sends chills down the spine. Sydney Sutherland was born on September 18, 1995, in Tuckerman, Arkansas, into a family where love was the most important thing. With two brothers, a caring mother, and a devoted father, she always had a strong support system. She excelled in school, earning the admiration of her teachers and the respect of her classmates. Her dream was simple yet profound, to become a nurse and help people. She pursued that dream, enrolling at Arkansas State University, where she spent 4 years studying diligently and earning her nursing license. She then took an additional year of advanced training to become the best in her field. At 24, Sydney worked at Newport Medical Center, a large hospital for a small town. Patients adored her for her ever-present smile, kind words, and sincerity. Her colleagues described her as like a sister to all of us. At home, she had Alex, the boyfriend with whom she had been building a life for 4 years. They rented a small house, frequently visited her parents, and planned their future together. In the summer of 2020, she took a vacation, flying to Miami with her family to visit her brothers. She returned happy, full of plans. Her birthday was just around the corner, and she wanted to celebrate it in a big way. But on August 19th, everything came to a sudden halt. The summer of 2020 in Newport, Arkansas, was hot and quiet. On August 19th, 24-year-old nurse Sydney Sutherland planned to visit her mother in nearby Tuckerman, just a 15-minute drive away. She arrived in the morning and mentioned that she wanted to bake something delicious that evening. She also planned to go for a run to unwind before a cozy night at home with Alex. In great spirits, she returned home around 3 p.m., changed into workout clothes, shorts, sneakers, and a t-shirt, and set out for a jog along the familiar Route 18. And that was it. No one ever saw her again. Alex returned home around 5 in the evening and immediately knew something was wrong. Sydney's car was parked by the garage, her bag and wallet were inside, but she was nowhere to be found. Her phone went unanswered, and her smartwatch was silent. Panicked, he called her mother. She was supposed to be here. Where is she? Her mother rushed over, her heart pounding with dread. Together they drove along Sydney's jogging route, called friends and neighbors. But there was nothing. In a small town with few places to hide, it was as if Sydney had vanished into thin air. Desperate, they turned to the police, and by nightfall, news of her disappearance had spread everywhere. Dozens of people, neighbors, co-workers, even casual acquaintances gathered outside Sydney's house, ready to search until morning. No one wanted to believe this was the end. When Sydney disappeared, Newport turned into a beehive of activity. The police arrived quickly, the FBI was called in. 3 helicopters buzzed overhead, and K-9 units scoured the fields. More and more volunteers joined the search. By morning, there were already 150 people, and that number kept growing. No one slept. Armed with flashlights, they walked along Route 18, shouting her name into the darkness. Sydney's mother and Alex reviewed security footage from the garage camera. She had arrived home at 3 p.m. and left for her run at 4:30 p.m. She was in athletic clothes and sneakers. There was no indication that she had planned to go anywhere else. The first witness came forward quickly, a delivery driver who had seen her on Route 18 between Newport and Grubbs around 2:30 p.m. She was running, looked normal, he said. This helped narrow the search area. Her mother confirmed, yes, that was Sydney's usual jogging route. But the long night of searching turned up nothing, and at 2 a.m., the volunteers were sent home to rest. By the morning of August 20th, the search resumed with renewed energy. Police requested data from Sydney's phone provider, and then a breakthrough. Her smartphone was found in a field near Jackson Road 41. Nearby, in an old barn, her broken sunglasses were discovered. Everyone's hearts sank. This was no longer just a missing person case. She had been taken. But by whom? Detectives started with the most obvious suspect, Alex. In cases like this, the boyfriend or husband is always under suspicion, but he had an alibi. He had been at work until 5 p.m., and his co-workers confirmed it. Friends insisted that he and Sydney were happy together, with no history of conflict. The investigation moved on. On August 21st, a second witness came forward, 28-year-old farmer Quake Lewellyn. He said he had seen Sydney on Road 41 after the delivery driver around 4 p.m. He had passed her in his pickup truck but hadn't stopped. But something felt off. Why hadn't he said anything sooner? After all, he had been volunteering in the search from day one. Quake was a well-known local. His family owned a farm, he had 3 children and a wife, and they had even won an agricultural award a few years ago. But police grew suspicious. If he was the last person to see Sydney, why did he wait so long to mention it? His excuse? I didn't think it was important. He voluntarily handed over his phone, which had a family tracking app installed. And then came a chilling discovery. On the day of Sydney's disappearance, he had spent hours in a field just a few kilometers from where her phone had been found. Police went to that location and found disturbed soil and boot prints. When they started digging, their worst fears were confirmed. There she was, Sydney. The medical examiner reported multiple injuries. She had been beaten to death. Everyone who heard the news felt their blood run cold. Quake became suspect number 1. The police searched his pickup truck. There was blood on the back door. DNA tests confirmed it was Sydney's. Quake's family didn't try to protect him. On the contrary, they gave police full access to their farm's security cameras. The footage showed that on the morning of August 19th, his truck was undamaged, but by evening it had a dent. Inside his house, investigators found boots. The soles were a perfect match for the footprints near the burial site. During interrogation, Quake broke. He confessed. He had been driving through the field when he saw Sydney, turned around and ran her over with his truck. She was still alive, but he beat her to death, assaulted her, and buried her. Then, as if nothing had happened, he went home to his wife and children. They had gone to the same school but had barely interacted. Why did he do it? Madness? Hatred? He gave no answers. The police dug into his past. No criminal record, a seemingly model family man. But the evidence was overwhelming. Blood, boots, the dent, his phone's location data. The case went to court, but the trial took over a year to begin. While Quake sat in jail, his lawyer prepared a defense and the town seethed with horror and rage. The trial began in 2021 and suddenly Quake changed his story. He now claimed that hitting Sydney was an accident. He had passed her, turned around to check if she was okay, raise some dust, and didn't see her. Panicked, he buried the body. His lawyer clung to this version, demanding forensic tests. Psychiatrists diagnosed Quake with mental disorders, but concluded that he had understood his actions. The prosecutor was furious and demanded the death penalty. The dust argument fell apart. Police had driven the same road, and there was barely any dust in the air. Visibility had been clear. The defense tried to stall the trial, filing 50 motions, requests to move the case to another district, bans on emotional outbursts in court. Nonsense, of course, but it delayed the process. A year passed, and Quake realized he had no way out. The evidence, blood, boots, surveillance footage, was crushing him. The prosecutor pushed for execution, and he cracked. He took a plea deal. He admitted to murder and assault in exchange for life in prison without parole. On October 1, 2021, the court issued its verdict. He stood before Sydney's family. Her mother shouted, "Look at me!" But he stared into nothingness, like a machine. No remorse. Sydney's parents accepted the deal. They didn't want years of trials and lies. Now, every year, they gather with friends and family on Road 41. There stands a memorial, simple but heartfelt, adorned with flowers and her name. It marks the place where her life ended, but her memory lives on. Quake's family was destroyed, their reputation ruined, their son, a murderer. They didn't defend him. They helped the investigation, but the pain never fades. They say, he must pay. The town has never recovered. Sydney was light, kind, bright, genuine. And Quake was darkness, hiding among his own. This story is a warning. Evil can be closer than you think. What's left after such a tragedy? Pain, questions, emptiness. Sydney wanted to save lives, but she became a victim. Quake lived an ordinary life, but snapped in an instant. Why? No one knows. Maybe not even him. But this story teaches us, cherish those around you and never trust a mask too blindly. Newport lost its daughter, and with her, the illusion of safety. May the memorial on Road 41 serve as a reminder. Light never truly fades, even when darkness tries to take it. And that concludes our coverage of this tragic story. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on cases like these. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to share this video with your friends and give it a thumbs up if you found it valuable. Thank you for watching.